on the life of a woman that many people do not approve of. A woman who isn't able to reach the horizon until later in life. A woman who suffered through a lot of pain and disappointment. That woman's name is Janie Mae Crawford. To look back on Janie's life, we are going to interview a descendant of Phoebe Watson. As many of you know, Janie and Phoebe were best friends. Phoebe often spoke about Janie to her children, so her life was like an open book for them. Let's begin by welcoming out Amy Watson. Hi, Amy. How are you today?
Hi, Lisa. I'm doing fine.
That's good to hear. How about we start with a little information you could share about Janie?
Janie was my grandma's best friend, but not from birth like most girls who were friends. They met after Janie married her second husband. The life she had before her second marriage didn't fulfill her dreams, so she left.
Before we talk about Janie's second marriage, can you tell us something about her life before that?
Sure. Well, Janie was raised by her grandmother.
Wait, why raised by her grandmother and not her mother?
Well, Janie's mother was raped when she was a teenager by her school teacher. After giving birth to Janie, her mother left to live a life that didn't involve being near the creation that came from such a horrible experience. She wasn't able to handle looking at Janie, so she left her in the care of her grandmother. Janie's grandmother was also raped when she was younger. She was raped by her slave master and became pregnant with Janie's mother from that experience. Nanny didn't want Janie to have to experience the same event that happened to her, so she decided to have Janie married off to a well-respected man. That man was named Logan Killix.
What made Logan such a good catch for Nanny?
Well, Logan offered a sense of protection that Nanny wanted Janie to have. Nanny knew that if Janie married Logan, men would think twice before advancing on her. Janie would be financially stable and a respected woman. Logan had 60 acres to his name, which would provide him with a stable life, and having a stable life would ensure Janie a stable life.
What was marriage like with Logan? I know that they were only married for about a year. So what happened that made Janie leave?
Logan and Janie married in Nanny's home. Janie was either 16 or 17 at the time and believed that love would be in their marriage, but it never came. Long before the year was up, Janie noticed that her husband stopped talking in rhymes to her. Logan instead began to treat her like she was a farmhand and not his wife. He wanted her to work in the fields with him, and Janie didn't want to. Janie knew it was not her place to be out in the fields, being a pack mule. She was comfortable with her position in the household and didn't want it to change. Janie was unhappy, and when she got the opportunity to be happy, she took it.
So, does this mean that this is when Janie gets remarried?
No. This is when Janie considers leaving her husband. Janie meets a man called Joe Starks when he walks in front of her farm one day. Logan had left her alone at the farm to purchase another mule to help around the farm. Joe was completely different from Logan. He was a smooth talker and an ambitious man. Joe and Janie flirted in secret when her husband returned. Janie wanted Joe, so one day she spoke to Logan about the subject of her leaving him for someone else, and Logan was unhappy. The two got into a fight and tensions ran high in their house. Logan threatened to kill Janie, and I believe that may have been the big reason why she left him.
So this is when Janie gets remarried to Joe Sparks?
Yes, this is when Janie gets remarried. Janie runs off with Joe after her and Logan's fight. Joe takes Janie to Eatonville, Florida.
Why does Joe choose Eatonville? There are many places in Florida where they could have settled down.
Joe had chosen Eatonville because it was an all-black up-and-coming town. Joe was working for a white man and liked the power that the man held, so he wanted to travel Eatonville to get the same power. He wanted to become mayor. With the money that he had gotten from his previous employer, he was able to help the town grow. He added a street lamp and created a town store and brought the people together, but he outcasted Janie. Janie was just supposed to be seen, not heard, according to Joe. He made sure he felt superior to her instead of letting her be his equal. There were many times when Joe would isolate her. He was so self-conscious that he forced Janie to always have her hair covered up. Joe wanted no one to look at Janie in lust.
How did Janie react to Joe's restrictive nature?
Janie didn't do anything about it for years. She let Joe walk all over her. He treated her like a mule and was abusive to her until one day when she snapped. When Janie snapped, she took away Joe's masculinity, and their marriage hit a turning point. Their marriage of 2 decades was coming to an end, and there was no way for them to make up. Joe wanted to have nothing to do with Janie, and when he started to get sick, he made sure she was even more isolated than before. When Joe was on his deathbed, Janie had finally told him everything she had a problem with throughout their marriage. It was the only time Janie felt like she had more power than him, and Joe still took the advantage to make himself feel better. He told her that he thought she was ungrateful and only trampled on his pride when she should have been by his side.
How did Janie feel after Joe's death? Did she move on quickly?
Janie felt free after Joe's death. She finally felt like she could be a part of Eatonville. No one was holding her back from living a life that she wanted to. Janie did move on somewhat quickly. She started to spend time with a younger man named Tea Cake. Everyone in town knew that their relationship was getting serious when she started to wear the color blue. It was Tea Cake's favorite color on her, and she wanted to make him happy. Everyone in town thought she was disrespecting her husband for not waiting the appropriate amount of time to move on. Janie should have been wearing black.
What made Tea Cake so special?
Tea Cake was so special because he made Janie feel like an equal. He taught her how to play checkers, fish, and shoot a gun. He took the time to teach Janie some little things that women weren't supposed to do. Tea Cake made her feel like she was special and beautiful, even though she was older than him. He would do whatever it takes to make her smile, and she appreciated with that. Janie fell in love with Tea Cake and him with her. He wanted her to marry him and start a life somewhere new. Tea Cake didn't think about the future when it came to Janie. All he wanted was the opportunity to be with her and make enough money so he could provide with her with a life that she was accustomed to.
Tea Cake was not a man who had loads of money. Did Janie ever wonder if Tea Cake only wanted to be with her because she could provide him with money?
Yeah, in fact, the day after Tea Cake and Janie had gotten married, Janie had woken up to find an empty apartment and $200 taken from her. Janie searched and searched, but couldn't find her money. Tea Cake didn't show up at the apartment till much later at night, after a day of partying and spending her money. His excuse for not wanting her to see him with spending her money was because he was interacting with people below her class. He won her money back by gambling and then decided it was time to settle down in the Everglades.
Was there another time when Janie lost faith in her husband?
When the couple moved to the Everglades, they had met a young woman who had a crush on Tea Cake. The girl was named Nookie, and she was determined to make Tea Cake notice her. There would be times when Janie would catch them in compromising situations. Janie was having doubts, but chose to have faith in her marriage.
What caused Janie to come back to Eatonville?
Tea Cake and Janie got stuck in a hurricane and decided to walk their way to Palm Beach when the storm had gotten too rough. Janie was a poor swimmer, and Tea Cake had to help her a lot, which ended up depleting his energy. When they had gotten to safer ground, Janie had picked up a sheet of material to cover Tea Cake from the rain, and it had taken her into the air. When Janie let go, she had fallen into the rapidly moving water. A cow had passed her, so she grabbed onto the cow's tail, following Tea Cake's instruction. A rabid dog was on top of the cow and was about to bite Janie, so Tea Cake fought and killed the dog, but he was bit before he could kill him.
So what happened to Tea Cake after he was bit?
Tea Cake slowly went crazy and tried to kill Janie, and said she killed him, and was sent to court for her trial. Janie was found innocent, but a lot of her former friends started to hate her until she hosted Tea Cake's funeral. After the funeral, Janie went back to Eatonville and lived the rest of her life happy that she had finally reached the horizon and did not care about what other people thought of her. She just lived with the love Tea Cake gave her in her heart.
Thanks for telling us about Janie Crawford. Well now, Miss Virgil Woods, tune in next week for the life of Rosa Parks.